Welcome to Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dauer and Todd Kelly Jr.
Good morning, ball fans, and of course, those college football fans. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Tennessee Volunteers, they're back home on Rocky Top, getting ready to enter Neyland Stadium for the first home game of the season. For a number of Vols, it's their last first home game. Todd Kelly Jr., I'm sure you remember yours. And for quarterback Joey Aguilar, it's the moment he's been waiting for, running through the tee in front of 100,000 of his closest friends, all the Vol fans. Aren't you glad it's a Friday morning? It's Live Ball with Paige Dauer and VFL Todd Kelly Jr. TK, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paige.
Yeah, you have a little bit more of a serious job now, being a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch.
That's right, and I'm bullish on the Vols after last Saturday.
Are you? Okay, good.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about Joey Aguilar, but I'm very pleasantly surprised with how he looked against Syracuse. I mean, I maybe had some high hopes for him, but it was still a pleasant surprise how he performed.
It was, and, for him to just find his composure as quickly as possible. That first drive, everyone was like, what's going on? Overthrows and not hitting his receivers on target, but then you just saw him get settled. And that's really important to see early in the season, that you've got a reliable quarterback that you can depend on to put it in the air, but then also run the ball when he needs to.
Absolutely. So I think if we can rewind to that Syracuse game, I would love to talk about where we were impressed with Tennessee in that game, because I think a lot of that, one, can translate to ETSU this weekend, but hopefully, I mean, I know the players don't look ahead, but we can look ahead to Georgia. Yeah. So if we'll start maybe kind of where we first were impressed, I kind of want to start with DeSean Bishop and how that running back looked, obviously from Carnes, and was a walk-on, now has a scholarship or is a scholarship player and started that game. I guess when you were watching that game, what stood out to you about DeSean Bishop?
It took me back. I was thinking of that I was watching an old school game. He runs like an I formation running back, no gloves, down and dirty, running through tackles. So you can see the work he put in the off season. But it's going to take more than one person to bring him down. Yeah,
and speaking of not playing with gloves, this was DeSean Bishop after the game talking about why that is.
I'm not here to look the best, to dress the best. I'm just here for straight business, and I feel like that's what that represents out there, and show that I'm here to get the job done.
That's straight business. Is that what that tells you when you see a guy not wearing gloves?
Straight business, and right now his business is booming.
Yeah, no, it is. I love that blue collar vibe, and funny enough, I guess it just because that really kind of feels like it is him. That didn't necessarily stand out to me in the game, but when you see especially a back not wearing gloves, what does that tell you?
For him, and he shared this, right? He's team-driven, right? I think when you see guys that wear all these extra things, he's like, no, I'm showing up, I'm a football player, and I'm doing my job. So, he picks up his hammer and goes to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Getting his first career start against Syracuse, and I think it'd be the exact same way against ETSU this weekend.
I think so. I think we'll see some really explosive plays on both ends, the passing game and the running game, and I know DeSean's ready to have a presence, right, in Knoxville, Tennessee, where he grew up and where he's from.
You were obviously in the stands, or maybe not obviously. You made the trip down to Mercedes-Benz with the family. From the stands, what stood out to you? What impressed you about the game?
One, Tennessee fans, right? How great they travel. We travel, I should say. It's about 95 to 5% Tennessee to Syracuse.
Especially that ball walk.
Oh, my goodness. Unreal. But altogether, Paige, just watching the sidelines, the charisma, the camaraderie, from start to finish, everyone was in it, and we have a talented roster. So some of those guys that wish they were on the field aren't. They can't be all the time. So to see the guys that weren't still cheering on their teammates that play the same position as them, it just shows what this team means, right? That everybody truly has their best interests at heart.
Yeah, and I know we talked about we can look ahead, but maybe they can't. I get to the point where maybe there were a couple of areas that concerned us, and when I'm looking through our game notes, I was like, oh, me and TK had the same thing. So I think that lets me know I'm on the right track. But you're the defensive guy. We both kind of looked at the third and fourth down defense for Tennessee when we looked to that game against the Orange. Steve Angeli, especially in the passing game, they had 8 total explosive plays through the air. 3 of them came on third and fourth downs, and they were 20-plus yards. Right. So when you look to those third and fourth down, defenses, what concerns you the most about maybe their inability to be as efficient as the first and second downs?
Well, it's giving up explosive plays like that. If you give up a run that's 10 or more yards or a pass that's anywhere from 20-plus yards, that's considered an explosive play. And then you look at when do they happen, right? On third and fourth down, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And when we play a team like a Georgia or a Florida, any SEC team for that matter, that's going to come to bite you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and this was Coach Josh Heupel, in the press conference when I did have a chance to ask him about the third and fourth downs, and he has some good coach speak, but I know you're going to break that down when we come right back from that soundbite.
It's all 11 playing together. Some of our zone principles, some of that's alignment, some of that's technique.
I always felt like there was something open that shouldn't have been.
Immediately after the game, Joshua Josephs was the edge rusher, was also in the soundbite, and he just talked about 100% it was the third and fourth downs made this game look a lot different in the box score because those explosive plays set up easy touchdowns. The next play or two later, Josh Heupel and the coach speak that he has, he's like, takes all 11 players. What did you maybe notice on those third and fourth downs where some of that breakdown was really happening?
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with communication and losing their assignments, right? You can be aligned correctly, but if you're not communicating and lose your assignment, specifically in zone coverage, I saw a lot of times that they would have communicated with each other on the front end, those lapses wouldn't have happened. I think man-to-man wise it was great, but in zone it's all about communication and knowing where your teammate is, and when you release your assignment to your teammate, that guy's ready to be there.
Yeah, and I think that's certainly something that needs to be figured out by the time Georgia comes around, because ETSU, as we'll get into in just a moment, isn't necessarily a pass-heavy or pass-savvy team. So being able to get a final tune-up before Game 3 when SEC play starts is a little tough.
Yes, and to start SEC play with Georgia, you're starting off pretty strong.
Yeah, we're going to do a little buying and selling segment now too, just because you're a financial advisor, and we got to see, are we reading the stock market the right way when it comes to the Tennessee Volunteers? So if we could do a buying and selling, will Joey Aguilar get the ball to 5 or more balls versus ETSU? Against Syracuse, he got it to 8 different balls.
Yes, I'm definitely buying that. I think Joey hasn't necessarily found his go-to. I know Braylon Staley broke open an explosive play last weekend, but Joey has athletes across the field, right, at each position, not only the tight end position, which we'll dive into later, but his outside and inside receivers. And I think we'll see a more of a rotation. We didn't get to see much of the freshman receivers out there, so outside of Staley being a redshirt freshman. So I'm looking forward to them getting their hands on the ball.
Well, Braylon Staley was almost going to have a second one. He really wanted a deep PI later in the game, too, and he didn't get it. So maybe 2 walk-in touchdowns for Staley. Yeah. So are we buying or selling that DeSean Bishop rushes for a career-high 121 yards or more versus ETSU?
So I'm going to sell this one just because with the three-headed horse that we have back there, I think there's going to be more of the same rotation that we saw in Game 1. I expect them to break off a long run, but, we've got to keep them healthy. And I don't expect this game to be very close, so I don't necessarily see, DeSean Bishop playing in, the late third and fourth quarter. But I think, one of the running backs could push, the 100-yard mark, the century mark.
See, I kind of want to buy on that.
Okay.
I was looking back at the stats last year because I was like, okay, if DeSean Bishop's the starting quarterback, running back, I go back to Dylan Sampson. A lot of his games, even against opponents like Kent State, he had over 100 yards. And maybe it is because you get that explosive play because maybe it's a little bit of an inferior team. So maybe that's why I would buy on that. But we'll see how that goes when we come back for week 3. So 2 more buying or selling. So buying or selling, Tennessee's defense gives up less than 5 third down conversions against ETSU.
I'm going to buy that.
Okay.
I think that's what we need to see. When you're playing against a lesser opponent, third downs matter, and we saw that we gave some third downs up. So I think cleaning that up this week is really important, and I think that's what they're working on this week. Yeah,
we're in alignment with that one, so I like that. And then buying or selling, Tennessee's defense gives up 0 explosive plays on late downs against ETSU.
So I'm going to sell that one. I think there may be 1 or 2, but even, I think if we limit it to under 3, right, maybe 1 or 2 runs and 1 pass, then that would be considered a good day for the defense.
Yeah, and I think, in this game, too, you hope to get even younger guys. I know young guys like Ty Redmond had a really good game as a true freshman against the Cuse. But, I could certainly see maybe that happening. So we will come right back after this break. We have some really exciting guests coming up as well to talk a little bit more about DeSean Bishop, have a little bit of insight on him. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Your business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.
Welcome back into Live Ball. Paige Dauer with TK. Fun first segment. Now I kind of want to dive a little bit more into a couple of things that we were talking about when we looked to our key matchups in this game. It's a little interesting because maybe it's not a Power 4 opponent, so I don't want to hype it up too much, but I'm wondering from your perspective if we want to maybe look at it from the quarterback perspective, because they run a dual quarterback kind of situation, and you had some really good reminders about who these quarterbacks actually are.
Yeah, so Cade McNamara, he's been at Michigan, Iowa, was actually in the Joe Milton race for who's going to be the quarterback at Michigan, and he won that, which is why Joe Milton came down here, but then he lost the position at Iowa. So for him to be at ETSU, in Johnson City, he's got experience. And so I think he's, even though he's at an ETSU, these guys look forward to games like this, right?
Yeah.
And, there's not too much of a drop-off from the skill position. When you get outside of the Power 4, it's more looking at that interior, the offensive and defensive line. So I think you'll see a big deal, which is, my matchup is looking at the offensive line and the defensive line and seeing how dominant we can be from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a second, too, because I think when we do look at the quarterback situation, I'm wondering if that's why we haven't seen more passing yards out of ETSU. The last couple of seasons, they've been dominated by their run game. You look to game 1, I think it was against Murray State, and they have nearly 400 yards on the ground and less than 200 through the air. So I think that kind of leads into your matchup when you look at the line of scrimmage.
Well, I think to your point with the offense, right, I mean, they're going to try to slow this game down, and it comes down to our defensive line. And we've got to get healthy, but at the same time, we've got to, make a push. Because they're going to run the ball, and when they're not running the ball well, they don't really have an option but to continue running the ball, right? So slowing the game down, trying to, minimize the possessions that our offense gets to, have explosive plays.
And I think it could be interesting, too, because you look to the defensive line, like Jackson Moy's not there. You look back to the secondary, you don't have Jermon McCoy still. Although maybe he does. I'm wondering if we're going to go off on a tangent. If they want him back for Georgia, I'd imagine they'd knock Rust off against ETSU. No way you put him in there without any snaps in the game prior, right?
Yeah, I think, just with Jermod, they're going to be as cautious and careful as possible with him. And, while you want to get the rust off, lo and behold, if something happens against, the Buccaneers, that'd be very unfortunate. So,
right.
I think it would be very rare for us to see him play this game.
Okay, and again, I think they're in good hands, too, with Colton Hood, obviously the SEC Defensive Player of the Week, and then you had Ty Redmond, who had a couple PBUs as well. So I think maybe against ETSU, they'll be fine.
Yes.
But when we look to your key matchups, what mostly stands out to you about the line of scrimmage battle?
So, our offensive line, right? We didn't give up any sacks, week 1, and I expect the exact same thing. And also, not looking too far in our show, but, as David Sanders is going to get out there, and with him having his first start, what is that going to look like? So it's good to see that we can mix and match and move our offensive linemen around to different positions. But are we going to have that same mentality and the same results we had from week 1?
Yeah, and I think that might even just be a good segue there. Like, who's our squeeze this week? Is it David Sanders? Is it the offensive line? We'll get a little bit more into that later in the segment, but coming up next, we're going to talk about the tight ends and how they looked in week 1. We'll be right back.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.
Welcome back in. Happy to have you still with us. I want to talk a little bit about the tight ends. Obviously, VFL Chris Brown and the sales manager here at Harper Volkswagen joined us last week, but they've got a big road game actually for Webb. He's the offensive coordinator at Webb School, where you obviously played.
Yes.
Funny enough, I was actually talking to a couple of the classes yesterday. I was there for their 8th grade media classes and had a chance to also talk to Shavar Young, the Clemson commit, and it sounds like they're going to have a pretty good game on their hands down in Chattanooga.
Yeah, they play in a really talented division, and Shavar is one of the star athletes, not only at Webb School, but in the state of Tennessee. He's a Clemson commit, and they're getting a great guy. But he's a leader too, and with him being a senior, I heard about him as a freshman, and that shows you how fast time flies by, right? But they're going to try to show up and show out in Chattanooga.
Yeah, Shavar and the offensive tackle Marvin, they had a couple of funny questions they wanted me to ask Chris, so I might just have to wait until next week to get those questions in. But
keep those in your back pocket for sure.
Oh, I will. I'll put it in the notes out so I wouldn't forget. But in honor of Chris Brown, we'll continue to talk about the tight end unit, which had a decent showing. They didn't get to Ethan Davis as much as they wanted.
Feel like he's a guy that can create mismatch opportunities for us, especially as you get closer to the end zone. Did an elite job blocking in the core. That guy has come a long way blocking. He had a big time game. Feel like
it was, he spoke really highly of Ethan Davis, but was kind of revealing like we didn't get to him as much as we wanted to. When you're maybe looking at that game, I think there was one play, and it was probably the one play that Joey really forced it. And obviously that was kind of one of the criticisms of the quarterback heading into the season, is that his interceptions were a result of him forcing it when he didn't have to. And I think when Ethan Davis had a crossing route in the end zone, he's like tattooed with, the defenders, and he still tries to throw the ball. I think it was deflected. How much of that did you see in the game when maybe it was their inability to get it to Davis?
Yeah, I think he was intentional about trying to get the ball to Ethan, right? Because Ethan was in there blocking. Both Ethan Davis and Miles Kitselman, they were physical, they're aggressive, but they're both extremely athletic. And, Kitselman got in the end zone, so I think they wanted to get Ethan Davis the ball. But, yeah, sometimes, when you're under distress or, basically Ethan Davis had 2 gloves on him.
Right.
He was basically layered by the defense. Those decisions that you can't make.
Yeah, and they talked about the blocking ability from the tight ends, and sometimes I find that to be, or it's starting to become a bit of a lost art, because they've almost turned into like wide receiver number 4, for teams.
Yeah.
So when you see the tight ends that Tennessee runs out there really priding themselves on blocking, like how much can you appreciate that as, kind of a defensive guy too when you're looking to tackle?
I think it's huge. And, when Chris was playing at UT, that's kind of when that, more athletic build can stretch the field but also block, tight end came to fruition. And you look at the NFL and you've got, Brock Bowers, Travis Kelce, Trey McBride, all these tight ends that are able to do both. And so I think that's what Tennessee has. And I really do think we're going to only implement them more this season.
Yeah, and I like how they still are doing kind of a 12 personnel with them as well. And I think when you especially get to Georgia, that could be a really good benefit for Joey too.
I think so, and not only for that, but for the pass protection. 12 personnel, give him some more time to really diagnose what's out there for his receivers, and then delayed blocking and going out for routes. I think we'll see a lot of that as well the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, coming up, we have a very special guest and 5-star Prep's very own Jesse Smithey to talk a little bit about DeSean Bishop and my also second favorite segment, talking about who we're putting the squeeze on heading into ETSU. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee.
Welcome back into the live ball. One of my more favorite segments. It's a new one. I try to be a little bit creative sometimes. Sometimes it lands, sometimes it doesn't. I think this one will land. So we're going to get into the squeeze, but I also want to make sure we're holding ourselves accountable too. So I want to look back to week 1, who I put the squeeze on, and it was Lance Hurd, and specifically in his ability to protect Joey Aguilar's blind side. And honestly, he did a pretty decent job. If we want to go to Pro Football Focus and their grades that they gave him a 76.1, which in their scale, that's like starting ability. How much of that did you notice?
I noticed it a ton, right?
Yeah.
When you end the game and there's a goose egg on the board with giving up sacks, a lot has to do with protecting the quarterback's blind side. So I think Lance looked great. I think you can tell the work he put in the offseason, and we're going to really, really lean on him the rest of the season.
And then who was your squeeze? How did they do?
Yeah, so mine was Mike Matthews. So you talk about that PFF grade. His was a little towards the lower tier, in the lower 60s. And with that in mind, there's a lot of potential that Mike Matthews has, and I think that we'll only see him grow from there. It's funny, on the last show you asked, was Aguilar's first target going to be Mike Matthews?
Yeah.
And as soon as he ran that shallow route, I thought Paige knew exactly what was going to happen. So, but I think he could just show a little more, right? He's got that playmaking ability. We saw it out of Staley, so I think we'll see more of Mike Matthews, and maybe even in this game this weekend.
And I think some of that will even come down to just like ball security. I think he had a couple of drops. I know Chris Broswell had a drop, and then one where he got his head turned around too early. If they can clean that up, I think Mike Matthews will be the guy that you think he'll be too.
Yeah, I think so too. And for him, it's finishing the play.
Yeah.
Right. I think sometimes you can get lackadaisical or not run your route, to the best of your ability when you're coming out of the break. So for him, he's just got to. He has that 1% that's still in him that I think he needs to pull out of him.
Yeah, and he just knows to kind of look like the Lady Balls with our blue and orange today. So like we're very much in sync today. Okay, so when we look to this week and who we want to potentially put the squeeze on heading into this week, I think I'm going to put mine on the third down defense. I know they might have a couple of new guys out there. They want to rotate. They're still doing the 12 rotating players, especially like on the line. Jackson Moy's not out there, who are going to be like the defensive backs for Tennessee. This is your last tune-up. I don't want to see, any mistakes. I don't want to see any explosive plays that we talked about earlier in the show happening on those late downs. If they can get that figured out, I think my confidence will be a little bit higher against Georgia, because my hot take in the beginning of the season is I think the Volunteers really could beat Georgia, but the defense is going to have to show up this week.
They are, and it all comes down to those, specifically the third and longs, right? Getting off the field, getting your offense the ball back. I think that's a great squeeze, and we'll see here if we've really tightened up that third down defense.
Yeah. Who are you putting the squeeze on this week, or what position?
Yeah, so I'm going to the opposite side of the offensive line with David Sanders.
Yeah.
So not many people expected him to be out, and I was at the game and saw him jogging out with his white hoodie under his jersey.
You're like, what's he doing?
Man, I mean, you could just tell he wanted to be out there, right? And so the sense of urgency that he had to still be involved in the O-line, when they came, to the bench and just helped with corrections. It's going to be his first game in Neyland Stadium. He's a true 5-star. I've seen just how he's developed, and he's one of the leaders in the room. Mm-hmm. So I'm expecting him to be really excited and also show what he's made of before Georgia comes to town.
Yeah, and one of the episodes I had over on our YouTube channel at Full Disclosure Pro was talking about Lance Hurd and David Sanders and their relationship. And Lance Hurd, I think the reason why he's had so much growth this season is because he's taken on this mentorship role with David Sanders. Like over the summer, they've spent so much extra time together going through reps, and he's like, well, now that I'm kind of in this role, like I can't slack off because he's going to see me slacking off. So in a way, they're kind of holding each other accountable, and I think that will lead to a big year for Sanders.
Yeah, I think so, and you can see the accountability there. They're both extremely talented, and the world is their oyster, right? And it all comes down to accountability and working together. So with both of them on the ends, I think it's going to make for a good year for Joe Aguilar.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when we come back, we'll have 5-Star Preps Jesse Smithey talking all things DeSean Bishop and what they've got going on over on their site. Make sure you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.
Welcome back into the live ball. Paige Dauer. TK was just with us, but he has an important financial job to get to with Merrill Lynch, so we're going to send him on his way. We really appreciate his time, but just as good next in his seat. I know the roles for us are a little reversed. Jesse Smithey with 5-Star Preps. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm usually sitting right there. I'm usually sitting over here on my show, but it's great to be here. Great to see TK. I mean, he's a kid that I'm not a kid. He's a grown man now, but I covered him as a kid at Webb School in Knoxville, and U.S. Army All-American, one of the great players to ever come through Knoxville, and did great things at Tennessee, and now great to see him doing big things in the community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to see him, and I love it too because you and I get together earlier in the week to do the walkthrough of 5-Star Preps, and that airs on all of your channels as well. So it's fun to see it translate over to the college level here.
Absolutely, yeah. We still keep up with college football, even though I'm very, very much ingrained in high school sports. I'm always keeping an eye on, especially our local guys in the college ranks.
And I'm sure there's nothing more special than a local guy that you cover. You just mentioned TK, but a guy that is actively playing one in DeSean Bishop. He's from Carnes High School, and he literally was the lifeblood of that program when he was here. And to see him grow in the way that he has here at Tennessee, he was a walk-on. He felt, kind of doubted, and now he's a scholarship player, and he just got his first start. How awesome has it been seeing this growth from his high school days to now?
It's been amazing, and it's been, even from my standpoint, rewarding to watch just because I know his story. I know what he's gone through, and especially early in his college days where I know he wanted to come in and contribute right away and prove himself, and he didn't get a chance to do that. And now people are getting a chance to see just how special DeSean Bishop is and might be, and it's changing for me because I got a call earlier this week from somebody from ESPN wanting to know more, just what's DeSean Bishop's backstory. So people are paying attention to him now, and for him, it's adjusting to life with a brighter spotlight.
Yeah.
And I think he's handled that somewhat coming out of high school, but it's different at Tennessee, and it's always going to be different at Tennessee. And that's the next kind of progression in his career, is blossoming under that spotlight, making big plays in bigger games against big-time opponents.
When we looked to that first game against Syracuse, his first touchdown was ruled short. Did you agree it was ruled short?
Maybe not. I'm looking through a little bit biased lenses there, being a Knoxville guy, and wanting a Knoxville guy to score. But for DeSean, a guy who is hungry but humble, I think he would accept it either way. And Tennessee won. That's what he wanted.
Yeah, and also he gets the handoff on the very next play and then actually records the touchdown. He also mentioned earlier this week that he was really looking forward to the first time he would, catch the ball out of the backfield or just be a part of the receiving game. He said he did that a lot at Carnes. So when you see him getting involved in the passing game here, how much do you kind of see himself back at Carnes and how much he contributed with the Beavers?
Yeah, with DeSean at Carnes, as you mentioned, he was the lifeblood of that program, and the entire offense was built upon him, and he did show that versatility. And not only did he rush for over 8,000 yards, but he made so many big plays in the pass game, catching the ball out of the backfield. And that's when you know that a tailback has become well-rounded, right? Mm-hmm. They're not just run the football, do your job, don't think, just go do. And when you can contribute in various ways like that, catching the ball out of the backfield, making plays out in open space, helping with pass blocking, that's the goal for every back. They don't want to be a liability to their offense and have to come out because they can't contribute in certain plays. So the fact that he's gotten himself to that point, I'm sure he takes a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, and for those who maybe aren't totally familiar with what he did at the high school level, just give me your favorite stats from DeSean Bishop and his high school career.
Just over 8,000 yards rushing in his high school career, over 100 rushing touchdowns. In his last 2 years combined, over 6,000 yards rushing and over 80 touchdowns.
It seems so unreal.
He put everybody on notice as a freshman coming in and rushing for 1,000 yards. You do that on varsity as a freshman, rushing for 1,000 yards. Okay, you got our attention. But it just kept getting better every year. And then for his junior year, I think he ran for over 3,100 some odd yards, won Mr. Football. and then repeated as Mr. Football the next year. And it was just a culmination of a fantastic career, leading Carnes to playoff wins. We're not used to seeing that at all out of Carnes football. And the fact that everybody knew he was getting the ball 25 to 30 times a game, and he still put up numbers, showed you what type of player he was, what type of offensive line he had up front.
Yeah.
And just the fact that he was a different player. It's not hard to notice a D1 player in high school. I've always said that, and you could always tell that about DeSean Bishop.
You mentioned other outlets are reaching out to you talking about DeSean Bishop. So for Vol fans who are now finally getting acquainted with the running back now being in the starting position on scholarship, what is one thing that we should know about who DeSean Bishop is that, Vol fans can get behind this season?
So right now, I think you've seen DeSean Bishop. If you follow him on social media, you've noticed that he's kind of had a life transformation. He's really put faith at the forefront of his life. But underneath all that is a very, very sneaky, competitive player. I mean, he remembers everything you write, you say. There have been times where we were doing our live show. At the time, it was called 5 Star Live, and we would broadcast after games, and we would pick a Carnes game every now and then. And if I happened to pick against him, he would let me know. He would let me know in the post game, or hey, you got this wrong, or so he's always motivated. I think internally by what he wants to accomplish in his life, but he's always got his eyes on what people are saying or doing. So that's when I knew that, hey man, this guy has an edge about it, even though on the exterior he's kind of chill and calm and humble.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jesse, I appreciate you joining us on the show. If you want to see more of his work with the high school level, you can find him at 5 Star Preps on Twitter and then 5starpreps.com on his website. That's week 2 of the Live Ball. We'll be back next week and, of course, this weekend for all things ETSU. We'll see you next Friday.
Welcome to Live Ball, presented by Harper Volkswagen. Here are your hosts, Paige Dauer and Todd Kelly Jr.
I'm VFL Chris Brown. Experience the VW brand proudly being produced in the great state of Tennessee. Harper Volkswagen is a proud partner of Tennessee Athletics. Go Vols!
Business can't afford the downtime that comes with a leaky roof. So whether you need a repair or a replacement, count on the professionals from McGuire Roofing and Construction. Your protection is our passion. We service and sell all types of roofs and have worked with some of East Tennessee's most recognized names. We have 25 years of experience and free inspection estimates, plus best in business warranties. Put an end to your roofing problems today by calling McGuire Roofing and Construction.